Hey up everyone, welcome back to the Rugby League History channel. Today on the channel I'll be doing my tips and predictions for round 5 of the 2025 NRL season. Last week were one of the worst tipping rounds ever on the channel's history. Only 3 out of 8 correct. Going into Sunday I only had 1 right, but thankfully Manly and New Zealand both won. Let's hope we can do a bit better in round 5. And the first match kickers off is on Thursday night. It's between Canberra and Cronulla Sutherland. This one's being played at Bruce Stadium in Canberra. In recent meetings, Canberra narrowly leads Cronulla in the head-to-head. They've won 6 of the last 10 meetings between the two sides. The head-to-head at Bruce Stadium is actually pretty good for Cronulla point of view. They've played 35 matches there, 16 wins, 18 losses and 1 draw. Both of these sides had losses last week. Canberra's now coming into this fixture with 2 losses in a row, and with Cronulla they had a loss against Canterbury at home. This is going to be a good match, I think. Obviously the last 2 results for Canberra haven't been good considering their start of the season, and with Cronulla they had a real good test against Canterbury and they come up short, so they'll be looking to bounce back. Looking at these two sides, it's a tricky one to call, but I'm going to take a bit of a risk. I'm going to go for the away side. I'm going to go for Cronulla to win by 1 of 12 points. And the first match on the Friday is between Penrith and North Queensland. This one's being played at the new Western Sydney Stadium. Penrith have won 6 of the last 10 meetings against North Queensland. With Penrith, they've lost 3 matches in a row, and it's the first time in many years that they've lost 3 matches in a row. They looked really flat against South Sydney, and they were playing like some of the Penrith teams I remember watching when I was growing up. They weren't very good. With North Queensland, they got their first win of the year. They were desperate to get off the mark, get a win on the board, and they did it at home against Canberra, so that will give them a lot of confidence going into this match. This is another interesting game to call because Penrith are down on their luck, lost 3 matches in a row. North Queensland picking up the first win. Surely Penrith can't lose 4 matches in a row, can they? I mean, how long's it been since that's happened? Despite the fact that they've lost 3 matches in a row, I will tip Penrith to win. Surely they have to come good at some point, so I'm going to go for Penrith to win by 1 to 12 points in a close contest against North Queensland. And the main match on the Friday, it's the oldest and fiercest rivalry in the NRL, South Sydney against Sydney Roosters. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. East have dominated the rivalry in recent times. They've won the last 5 meetings. In total, there's been 233 meetings between the two sides, 120 wins to South, 108 wins to East, and 5 draws. To start off the year, South Sydney have been playing great, and with East, or Sydney Roosters if you want to call them that, they had that win over Penrith, but then it's kind of fallen apart after that. But with this being a rivalry game, form goes out the window. How many times in the past have we seen South Sydney down their luck, come into this fixture and win, and likewise with Sydney Roosters? So it's all who turns up on the day who wants it more. I'm going to tip South Sydney to win by 1 to 12 points. I think this is going to be a very physical clash, as it always is. But I just think South Sydney have been playing better. But look, I wouldn't be surprised if Sydney Roosters come out and win this game either, because, as I said, there's been sometimes in the past where these two sides have played each other. One's down their luck, the other one's riding high, and the team down their luck wins. So it'll be a great game, but I'm going to go for South to win by 1 to 12. And the first match on the Saturday is between Parramatta and St George. This one's being played at Western Sydney Stadium. Parramatta have won their last 3 matches against St George in the NRL, including that bizarre game last year which ended 44 points to 40, where Parramatta won that match and it effectively ended St George's hopes of making the finals. Parramatta are winless to start the year, they're bottom of the table. With St George, they had a very gutsy win over Melbourne at Kogarah Oval. So this is going to be a really tough test for Parramatta. And also, with Clint Gutherson, he's going to get a round of applause by the Parramatta fans during the game. I think at a certain minute mark, because obviously he never got a proper farewell, the one that he really deserved by the club or by the Parramatta fans. So he's going to get a standing ovation by, I think, probably everyone in the stadium, to be fair. Even though Parramatta started the year 0-4, there has been talk about Mitchell Moses being rushed back into this match. I don't think that that's the best thing to do. Maybe if they weren't 0-4, he would have been rested until round 7 or round 8, but he's been talked of being put back into the team. Despite being 0-4, I'm going to tip Parramatta to beat St George somehow. I just have a feeling that they're going to get their first win of the year. I mean, surely they're going to win at some point, and I think that they can do it against St George, so I'm going to go for Parramatta to win by 112 points. And the second match on Super Saturday is between the Gold Coast and Redcliffe, or the Dolphins, if you want to call them that, from Seabus Super Stadium. With this match, Gold Coast come in to this fixture with 2 wins in a row. As for Redcliffe, they're still searching for their first win of the year. They're one of 2 teams that haven't won. The other one's Parramatta, so they'll be desperate for a win. According to Rugby League Project, there's been 6 meetings between these 2 sides. Redcliffe's won 4 times, the Gold Coast have won 2. Redcliffe were a bit better last week against Brisbane in the Brisbane derby, but they fell short. And the Gold Coast were pretty good against Sydney Roosters. With Christian Wolff as head coach of Redcliffe, he's obviously come back to the NRL, and he's got a bit of a rude awakening, because he used to be head coach of my team over here in England, St Helens, and he had great success over here, but things haven't been good for him back in the NRL. This could be a tricky game to call, because Redcliffe will be absolutely desperate to get a win, to try and get a win somehow. And the Gold Coast will be looking for 3 wins in a row, which is rare for them. So I'm going to go for the home side. I'm going to go for the Gold Coast to win by 112 points on Super Saturday. And the final match on Super Saturday is between Brisbane and West Tigers. This one's being played at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. Brisbane come into this fixture having won both their rivalry games against North Queensland and Redcliffe in the Brisbane derby last week. With West Tigers, they had a very narrow loss to New Zealand. One of the big talking points that I've read is that Jerome Luai will miss this match due to suspension, and potentially a couple more due to a shoulder injury, so that's really bad news to West Tigers, as they appear to have turned a corner. They're a lot more competitive this year. They've picked up a few wins, and Brisbane have looked pretty good this year so far as well. I think this will be a high quality match. I don't think there'll be a lot in it, but I will tip Brisbane to win this game by 112 points. I just think on paper Brisbane have the better side, and I think that they've been playing slightly better, so I'll go for Brisbane to win. The first match on Sunday is between Manly and Melbourne. This one's being played at Brookfield Oval. Melbourne have dominated this fixture in recent times. They've won 7 of the last 10 meetings against Manly. However, their last win at Brookfield Oval came in round 1 of the 2020 NRL season. Manly had a comfortable win over Parramatta going into this fixture, and with Melbourne they had a shock loss against St George at Kogarah Oval. From what I've read, Tom Trbojevic is out for 4 weeks with another injury, so a big blow for Manly. But they've been playing pretty well to start this year, Manly, so even though they'll miss him, I think that they'll still be very competitive. And with Melbourne, they rarely ever lose 2 games in a row. Generally when they lose, the next week they absolutely flog whoever they play. Craig Bellamy absolutely fucking gives it to them at training, and they come out as a much different team. So although I don't think that they're going to flog Manly, I'm going to predict Melbourne to bounce back, and I'll go for Melbourne to win this game by 112 points. And the final game to close out the round is between Canterbury Bankstown and Newcastle. This one's being played at Stadium Australia. In the last 10 meetings, these two sides have won 5 each. With Newcastle, in recent times when they've gone to Stadium Australia, they put 66 unanswered points on Canterbury in round 18 of the 2023 NRL season. However, their last win before that at Stadium Australia against Canterbury was round 27 of the 2013 NRL season. Canterbury are the only unbeaten team left in the NRL to start 2025, 4 wins out of 4. Newcastle come in off the bye. But looking at how both two sides have played this year, I'd have to go for Canterbury Bankstown to win this game. So I'm going to go for Canterbury to win this match by 13 plus. So that concludes my tips for round 5 of the 2025 NRL season. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know in the comment section below and let me know who you're tipping. Thanks to everyone that tuned in last week. I got over 2,000 views again for the video, which is great. Good numbers and a lot of engagement. So thanks to everyone that's watched the videos, and I'll catch us all later. Tatty bye for now.